Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and welcome back to another skill tree guide for Total War Warhammer 3, as we're going to take a look at the Caravan Masters of Grand Cathay today. Now this is not a legendary lord, this is a special mechanic for Grand Cathay, as you have these Caravan Masters guiding their caravans on the Ivory Road, and they too have their own skill tree with their unique skills, and we're going to take a look at them. So first things first, there are 78 possible skill point level ups you can have here on the skill tree. This makes sense because they can only be leveled up to level 40, that is their level cap. Unlike the legendary lords, the cap for their level is still 40 since you start with none at level 1. You have 39 points to use, which is exactly half of the 78 possible points, means you have to give up half. And that's not actually that bad of a news because there are some exclusivities and also a lot of wasted skills on this tree because you have no control over how the army is set up. So for example, as the lord here, this particular Caravan Master has the trait of Ogre Ally, and this determines his starting army. And the random encounters he will have on his journey on the Ivory Road will add and remove units from this army roster. So you cannot customize what unit you have. In this case, you can see you have a bunch of melee units, only 2 peasant archers. So you will never go for things like Short Aim, Eastern Fire, Sky Fire, Stone Gaze, or even Mighty Charge as you have no cavalry. They just don't make sense for your army, so you don't have to ever spend any skill points on them. So for this guide, we'll do the same thing as we usually do for skill tree. We'll go roll by roll, describe what their structure is meant to do, and then we'll talk about how we want to approach level up as we look at each individual skill. Overall, I think we'll end this guide with actually sort of a skill rundown of the first 20 levels or so, because there's actually a pretty optimal way of leveling up Caravan Masters to maximize your journeys on the Ivory Road. So once again, starting at the top row here, we have some skills that deals with especially Caravan Masters, their mounts, some faction unique skill. Once again, we see Wind Harmony and Range Discipline. For those of you who have watched our Miao Ying skill tree guide earlier, this is no surprise. We also have something called Will of the Dragon, passive ability. We'll come back and look at everything, but the first row here is some special faction skills, plus some unique mounts for your lord, as well as some unique mechanic related skills in case of just caravan unique abilities. Then the second row here, we have more of a unique boost for lords in general. We have the Tactician Trait. This is pretty much shared by Lord Magistrates, which have the same art. Lord Magistrates just a basic human lord for Grand Cathay factions. Caravan Masters are sort of the same human lord that are sent out on these caravan journeys, so we have the option of Tactician, leading up to this box of 3 choices here that are mutually exclusive. You can only pick one of the 3. So an offensive one, a defensive one, and a ranged one. This is good because you have to give up, potentially 39 different skill points, and having 6 of them automatically locked out is actually good in terms of deciding how to build your character. It makes it a lot easier. And the decision here comes down once again to what your trait is. What does your army look like? We have 2 really bad range units. We would never pick Inspired Marksman, for example. That just does not make sense for us. Usually, in almost all instances, Inspired Defense is the best, because I prefer melee defense over everything else. Of course, if you have a trait where you have something like ties with Nangao, which gives you like Fire Rain Rockets, plus Iron Hail Gunners and Crane Gunners, then definitely consider Inspired Marksmanship. Be flexible, but usually for most standard army setup, the defense option is just not the wrong choice. It's just never wrong, because all the enemies you're facing on the Ivory Road most often are going to be ogres, and there's not a lot of range ogre opponents you have to deal with. Maybe you'll run into a lead belcher once in a while, but mostly a lot of nobblers, maybe some ogre bowls, maybe some man eaters, and they're all going to be melee damage, and having melee defense will help you out quite a bit. And finally, once you pick up 3 points, basically master one of the 3 here, you can upgrade to Grand Tactician. And this is just going to replace Tactician by giving you better bonuses. Almost double, right? 10 and 9 versus 5 and 5. I don't know why they can't give 10 points of melee defense. It doesn't feel like that big of a difference just to go 9 point here. Just a tad weird. And then we have the same hard to hit roll here. This is a personal bonus. It's almost identical as most Legendary Lord personal bonus. The latter part is a bit different. Our melee defense is split to 2 different skill points rather than 1, as we seen earlier on Mel Ying's skill tree guide. And that's why Mel Ying's defensive skill tree is so good, because you get 1 point for both values rather than wasting 2 skill points. But we're back to having 2 skill points for the 12 points of melee defense here. That's really the only difference, and then Deadly Onslaught. Now, it's not super important to make your Caravan Master super strong. I think the objective that we should keep in mind is, if we don't have to fight, that's the best option. Their job is to deliver cargo and make you money, not to fight battles. And then this is the unit roll, which is pretty similar to every single other unit roll for the Grand Cathay faction. We're upgrading different units, we're getting some area bonus for those units in terms of leadership, and eventually some melee defense. It's quite powerful to have this in combination of this. You can split the cooldowns and maintain this very similar bonus for a longer duration, essentially. This is going to be 24 seconds, and this is going to be another 18 on top of that. They have different cooldowns. This is 90 seconds. That one's actually 60 seconds. But this is 1 unit only, versus this being area boost. So they're a tad different. This one's 35 meters. And then finally we have the very specialized roll down below. These are really tied to the Caravan mechanic, and these are actually the most important skills on the skill tree. So with all that covered, we're going to just jump in here and introduce what I think you should go for first. Because honestly, this middle section is highly repetitive compared to, say, Lord Magistrates and any other Grand Cathay Lord. So we're not going to spend too much time going over each of them. We're going to talk about where you should spend your points first. We'll walk through the first 20 levels, and that's going to help you out with your Caravan Masters. First things first, when you reach rank 2, the very first skill you're going to look for is Wayfinders, because this reduces the chance of a caravan ambush by 50%. That is massive. This keeps your caravan safe. And for safe, we don't have to fight. None of these skills are useful. We walk around, we get our goods to our location, we come home. Everyone's happy. So definitely pick up Wayfinders the first thing you can at rank 2. And then at rank 3, we cannot level it up because the second tier is locked at rank 4. And the increase is actually decreasing from 50 to 65. So the first level is super premium to get to reduce 50% chance of meeting an ambush battle. We go for better scales at rank 3. The reason being, our set amount of cargo becomes more valuable with better scales. We're basically cheating our trait partner by saying the same amount of good is going to net us 10% additional value. Or if you think we are being truthful, we were using bad scales and we're getting closer and closer to fair value, take it what you want, right? Basically, we're going to get paid more for the set amount of investment. We have to give the caravan money for them to make us money. So let's say we give them 1,000. They were going to make us 3,000. Now they're going to make us 10% more, 3,300. So it makes every dollar or every ounce of treasury we give them turn out to be better for us. So that's why better scale is the second most important thing we should pick up. And then rank 4, obviously, we just go back. We go back to Wayfinders. We want this additional 15%. Sure, it's declining, but it's still what keeps us safe. If we don't have to fight ambush battles, it's going to make your caravan much more lucrative, much safer, and every other skill just becomes obsolete because we don't have to fight. And then after that, rank 5, go back to better scales because this also becomes available at rank 4. Essentially, all the 5 skills at the bottom is rank 1, rank 4, rank 8. So we're just going to keep track here, rank 4 here, and rank 5 back at better scales. And then rank 6, we are still locked over here. We cannot get either one. So instead, we're going to go for hidden stores. Now, the earlier tiers of this skill is not that useful. It reduces the casualties suffered from attrition, which will happen because we're moving through the mountains of Morn. It's not a suitable climate for the people of Grand Cathay, and we'll take passive attrition as we just walk through it. Therefore, having any sort of attrition reduction will keep our army much healthier for those opportunities when we are actually fighting. And we get a little bit of replenishment on top of that. And then rank 7, save the point. Do not spend it. The reason's pretty straightforward. We save the point at 7. Once we hit 8, we pick up both Wayfounders and better skills. So we maximize the 2 skills that we really want early on as early as possible. So at rank 8, go for the 75% chance of Caravan ambush decreasing, and then maximize the value of every ounce of cargo that we put on the Caravan at 30%. And then rank 9, don't spend any points. And rank 10, spend 2 points, 1 in wheelwright and 1 in cargo smuggler space. Both of these are unlocked at rank 10. Same logic of why we saved a point at rank 7, because both of these are really good. At rank 10 here, the cost of any shortcut event we get is reduced by 30%. Shortcut event allow us to basically skip a turn on the Caravan, and it's guaranteed to be a safe event. So usually it costs anywhere from, let's say, like 500 to basically take a shortcut and avoid some ambushes. Sounds great, right? And now it's going to be cheaper. The most important part about this is not that. It's there's a chance of a double move. So it's a low chance, but it can cut down turn on the journey, which will make your Caravan much more efficient and much safer, because during each end turn, you have a chance to trigger ambush. If you can move 2 turns in 1 turn, you reduce the chance of meeting an ambush on that entire journey by quite a bit. So you want wheelwright as early as possible, and that's rank 10. And we also want smuggler space as early as possible. As you can see here, we'll increase the maximum cargo capacity by 20%. I'm not super in favor of this, but since we already maximized how much we get out of our cargo, right? Before better scales, increasing cargo doesn't actually make us more money because we're still getting the same ratio. But after we maximize what we get paid, then the more cargo obviously means more money. So we maximize our total profit by increasing capacity at this point. So we want smuggler space as quickly as possible. And also there are going to be extortion events, and that's going to have a set amount of cost. Maybe sometime it's a unit, which is going to be weird because I don't know how they give the cost there. But sometimes it's going to be money, where the ogres ask you for money. You can pay up to not fight. That's your call, right? Sometimes you just take the fight. But in this case, those extortion events will become cheaper. And if you want to keep yourself safe and if your army's in bad shape, then you're going to save yourself some money. And every amount of money you save on your Caravan basically make their net profit a bit higher. So that's smuggler space. Then rank 11, we don't need to save points for these two because they're unlocked at 15. We go back to the hidden stores, right? These are maxed out. Hidden store, we have 1 point. So 11 and 12 is going to go tier 2 and tier 3. And we end up with being able to replenish in foreign territory. Very key because we're almost always in foreign territory. Add 6% to whatever replenishment we have. And then reduce attrition by 75%. This skill is only good at rank 3. So being level 12, pick this up. Definitely very, very good. And then level 13, we go for local guide, which further reduces the cost of the shortcut event. We already reduced it by 30% here, so now it's going to be total of 40%. And then at rank 14, you save the point because we're trying to get maximum wheelwright and smuggler space at rank 15. So we'll pick up the 10% double move and the 50% shortcut cost, the 30% maximum cargo, and 50% cost reduction for extortion events. And that's going to maximize our gains there. And then we come back and finish local guide for a total of 25% cost of Caravan shortcut. This will bring us to rank 17 for our character. And in total, our shortcut cost is going to go down by a total of 75%. That's the maximum we can get there. And once we hit level 17, beyond that, we maximize this one, maximize this one, maximize this one, maximize this one. Got this one ready. And then we go for cargo capacity at the end. There's no need to do this anytime earlier because you're not actually getting paid more, right? You're paying more to get paid more. So the investment ratio stays the same once you maximize this. And at this point, if you have the spare money, then obviously this is good. So you can wait on this. and this will be rank 18 to 20. And you up your capacity by another 100%. The default capacity is 1,000, so this adds 1,000 to your maximum capacity. This adds 30. If you're playing as Zhao Ming's faction, you get another 20% by default, or 50%, 20% by default. So you go up to 150. So maximum you can throw in there is 2,500 on the initial journey. Some of the ratio can reach maybe 5 times on some of the farther trips, and you end up, making very good money. If you consider the sunk costs, it's 4 times. So you're basically making 10K per trip, within 9-10 turns. If you get a double move, even shorter. And that's a very steady income for Grand Cathay. So that will be rank 20. You get the 5 at the bottom, the 2 at the top, and you're all set. Most of the time, you won't be bothered. And then from that point on, you can start thinking about upgrading your character, right, for battle. And that's going to invest, half of your skill points. You still have 20 skill points left. You spent 19 of them to get these. And then you have 20 left. We're not going to go one by one because it's so situational at that point. Like, by standard, you kind of want to spend 5 points here to get Grand Tactician. And I prefer Inspired Defense, especially for this army with the Ogres. I think Inspired Defense is perfectly fine. And then get Grand Tactician on top of that. Warhorse is good for your own general. It adds health. It adds armor. Those are the key stats. The speed is good, but like, when are we really kiting with just a single entity that doesn't have range capabilities? I don't know why we would do that. A little bit of charge bonus, sure. We're still going to be weaker than most ogre lords that we're going to meet on the way. And we're not going to solo anyone with this Caravan Master, so it helps, but not that much. And then things like Will the Dragon's useful, add 4-point leadership for nearby units, never hurt. And then you can think about, do I want to upgrade the rank of my units? Maybe. If you have a lot of units that are the same type, then you might want to consider coming down here, right? If you have a lot of gunpowder units because you have a trait that's related to Nangao, and then you pick up a bunch of Iron Hail Gunners and maybe like a cannon, then maybe invest here. Like, if I look at the units here, I'm like, I don't really want any of these. The Ogre units will never benefit from any of my bonuses, so I can just skip this roll, and I can just go for more stats for my general. If I have units of the same type, I might give up that first and go for that unit type boost. It's hard to justify getting Rally because it's very rare for you to have units that's going to be of 2 categories like perfectly. That's just super rare. Most of the time, you're going to be adding mercenaries from other factions that will receive no benefit. So I don't see this role ever advancing very far. Therefore, it's mostly just going to be general level up increase. You can just spend all your points here. And that's not going to be all the points, I think. If we think about it, top row here, we're going to get at least the first 6, maybe all 8. It doesn't hurt. This is only 5 points total possible because the other 6 are blocked out. This is 15 points here. So these 2 rows is 20. We're at 26, 28 potentially. That leaves us with 11 points that we can spend. And if we go for all of these here, that's 10. And then one of these. So we have to give up a few. And like we mentioned before, things like charge bonus, we really don't want it. Even if we end up on a horse, like at most we get 50 more points, right, from the horse plus the devastating charge. Single entity charging in, I don't know if that's going to actually help us at 75. It's not going to determine anything. We have no mass whatsoever. So you can give up a couple points there. You definitely want to end up with Deadly Onslaught if you're going to go for this role. So either or, right? That's kind of the choices, but definitely get the cargo set up. You want to make money with these. You don't want to fight these. If you don't have to fight, you don't fight. So make sure you get your Wayfounders early and try to make some money with your Caravan Master. And that's going to do it for this guide. Short and simple. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!